Hello, this is Richard Amoroso, again from the Philadelphia Orchestra. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to discuss vibrato and a few more layers of sophistication to it. But before we do so, please hit the subscribe button so you're the first to know when I release a video. So in this video, we're going to review some of the techniques in vibrato that I taught in a previous video. And if you haven't seen that, please refer back where I go through each sort of step of how to work and get a great vibrato. Then we're going to talk about sort of how the fingers work and how to kind of make it sound different and interesting and the different techniques to make sure that we're getting different colors with that vibrato. So let's just start and review vibrato. What we did was just basically learn to sort of knock the peg or knock the wall regularly, and hopefully you've done that, and you've done that with a metronome and built up a certain amount of level of a steady left hand with a vibrato. Okay, that's a slow vibrato. But now let's just say that you've kind of gotten the speed and the finger is moving from the sort of the finger on down, and we're moving things very, very steadily and very relaxed, keeping the second finger and the thumb very much intact. Let's now start to talk about the varieties of the vibrato. So the two key aspects in vibrato are width and speed. And they vary depending on what color you're searching for and what piece you're playing. So in talking about vibrato with a colleague of mine, we went down this rabbit hole talking how to get color in your vibrato and what the best way to kind of experiment and figure out these speed and width. And this colleague of mine made a chart and sort of did a matrix of speed and width and basically tried to make each sort of square a certain speed and width. And you can imagine how many levels, if you go from 1 to 10 in width and 1 to 10 in speed, you would have. Something very slow and wide. Okay, at a 1 with absolute total width is something of a color that we'd probably never use. But if we make that same width and make it a little faster, we might sound like we're using it in some kind of piece, but generally speaking, we're not yet in the realm of making a color that you would use in a piece. But in those sort of middle areas of that matrix, we definitely have certain varieties of speed and width. Okay, now that's a very relaxed, wide vibrato. And you could probably use that if we're playing a certain piece. I would say, let's just take a piece like Bach. And the vibrato that most people would use is very narrow and maybe very slow. As you can see, it's a very sort of pale sound. It has that color. Whereas if you're going to play something with, like Mozart, it's a much faster and narrower vibrato. So you can see that's two extremes, something very Baroque and something very classical, where the speed and width are very different. Now, within each piece, we definitely will make some alterations, maybe make some of the vibrato in the Bach maybe a little faster or a little wider. And with the Mozart, we might make it a little slower and might more relaxed. Let's say we're playing the second movement. So there are all kinds of sort of applications, and there's all kinds of nuances. The most important thing is that the vibrato stays consistent and it's under control. There's no sort of irregularities to the speed. Of course, we can kind of slow it down at a cadence, of course, but generally speaking, as we're singing in a phrase, we try to keep it pretty consistent. We can speed it up gradually as the phrase maybe sort of intensifies, and we can slow it down. But nothing too, in my opinion, nothing too radical. Just trying to keep that left hand singing. There's all kinds of ways to do this, whether you're using a wrist or finger. You know, that's kind of up to the player. But in general, we try to keep these colors really maintained and be aware of them as we perform. One other aspect of vibrato is making sure that the vibrato has a circular sound to it and a circular wave. Nothing that sounds any bit sort of sizzled or a little bit sort of on edge. It has to have that sort of ping to it so that the vibrato sounds like a natural voice. That's the whole point of vibrato, that it sounds very much cantabile, which means sung, when we're playing these certain dolce lines, let's say from Mozart, or even in Bach. So again, circular sound, circular ping, that's really what makes the essence of vibrato really sound really pretty. So in review, we kind of went back and talked about the rocking and knocking of the finger, where the finger and the thumb are attached. And then we talked about the width and the speed once we got a certain skill level attained with that vibrato. And the two aspects are speed and width, and they can have a lot of variety depending on what what piece you're playing and your interpretation of that piece. I encourage you strongly to work this out on your own and listen to yourself and tape yourself and see which vibrato sounds the best in a particular piece. You'd be surprised sometimes when you're tired, the vibrato can really be a little slow or sluggish. And sometimes if you're too nervous, it will speed up uncontrollably. So take some time to tape yourself, record yourself, watch yourself, and listen to the color of the sound you're making. The more color, the more variety, the better. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button to hear and watch my videos and be the first to know. All right, thanks so much.